everybody, I want you to raise your hand if you've ever broken a bone. All right, now if you ever got your tonsils taken, keep your hand up, keep your hand up. If you ever got your tonsils taken out, raise your hand. Keep your hands up. Wisdom teeth? Awesome. So I want you to look around. Keep your hands up, keep your hands up. All right, I want you to look around, and I want you to know that every single one of you could have been prescribed opioids. Or you can put your hands down. 1 in 3 Americans are prescribed opioids, and 12% of Americans abuse the opioids and get addicted or use them and they get in the hands of other people. Opioids can be super helpful if a teammate ever tears a ligament, an elderly person falls, or even you just break a bone. But they're also super, super dangerous, and that they can get around, people can get addicted, and they can really cause a huge problem, as seen in lots of communities around the nation today. And that's where our product, Opiaid, comes into play and really solves that problem.
So we are the Electric Sloths, and we are selling Opiaid, which is a specially designed lockable pill bottle that we designed for caregivers who want to safely store and administer the prescribed opioids of their dependents. So we talk to a lot of caregivers, and these are the type of people that they want to help their dependents and they want to use the opioids that have been prescribed. But they understand that these are dangerous and highly addictive drugs, and they want to have them in the house as safely as possible if they've got to have them in the house at all. So that's where our product comes in. We're different than other lockable pill boxes on the market because we have a thumbprint scanner, so the caregiver that takes it out of the box and programs it, sets it so that only their thumb will unlock it. We have a screen where the caregiver is going to program in the dosage schedule and amount. So even if you took your thumb and did it a million times, it's not just going to spit out all the opioids in the bottle, it's going to stick to that schedule. And then finally, we have a specially designed dissolving fluid so that when the caregiver initiates it on the screen, the dissolving fluid will release, liquefy the opioids, and neutralize the medicine, so you can just pour it down the sink and be done with it. So we found another pain point was that a lot of people said, well, I didn't finish my prescription, and now we just have opioids kind of sitting in the medicine cabinet for a few months, which is super dangerous.
Just think about anyone you know who's ever had to act as a caregiver. Maybe it was your mom caring for you after you had surgery. Maybe it's someone looking after their significant other. Or maybe it's even someone caring for their aging parent. These are all the perfect case where Opiaid can come in. We've even had a lot of people expressing interest in using Opiaid for their own prescriptions and medications because maybe they realize they have addictive tendencies and don't trust themselves to have the willpower to stick to that schedule.
Let's take a look at some of our numbers to give you an idea of the financial viability of our enterprise. We plan on selling each bottle for $30 a piece, and that's enough to cover the $6 manufacturing cost per unit and labor costs, legal fees, etc. We hope to have 10,000 customers by only our first year of operation, and we expect to grow that to at least 100,000 by our third year. And we think that that's an estimate that's on the conservative side, because if doctors get hold of our idea, we'll be able to grow more rapidly. The rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. We've got revenue, costs, and then the difference between those two is profit. We hope to have $145,000 in profit by our first year and over $1.7 billion by our third year of operation.
Okay, so again, we are Opiaid. We are here to help caregivers take care of their dependents, whoever those dependents might be in their lives. We're aiming at people who want to use their prescriptions. These aren't the type of caregivers that are going to say, I'm never giving my kid opioids, I'm going to flush them down the toilet as soon as we get home. These are people who want to use their prescriptions, but they want to do it as safely as possible. So if you guys have any questions about our channel partners or more specifics of our plan or some of our research, we would love to hear your questions.
So you said that your manufacturing cost, I think, was like $6, and I just don't understand how you came to that number, including like a biometric scanner and all this. Like the biometric scanner alone is gonna run like, I do a lot of electronic stuff, and like that alone is more than $6 unless you're buying like tens or hundreds of thousands of them. So I'm just wondering how you came to that price point.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, buying in bulk will decrease your cost, like you said. And that's based on our projections for when we'd be able to get our business up and running. There's actually articles that show that by 2 or 3 years down the road, there will be small biometric scanners that you could fit on a device like this that will cost around $2 for each little scanner. And obviously if we buy in bulk, that would be even less. So that's one thing. You've got the bottle, which is obviously cheap. You've got the solution, which we be sourced at around $1 per unit, and that all sums up to around $6.
Cool. Yeah, I actually think you're right now. I think about like a lot of manufacturing is actually starting to come back over here because of 3D printing, especially now we're starting to get like metal 3D printing stuff, so I think you're right.
Yes.
So just thinking about the bottle, like if you had, like say a parent who like travels a lot,
Sure.
is there any way that the bottle can be, I guess, programmed to multiple caregivers? Like just so that it's not like contingent on one parent being there. Like what if they have to travel, but like they can't take their kid to like
Sure.
Asia with them or something?
So actually that is one of the things we thought about. We have fired those customers who want to say, well, we want to set it to, 3 parent, we want to set it to this. We fired them. We want one caregiver who's going to have control of this bottle, and that's our product. And that might not work for everybody, and we totally understand that, but we're really zeroing in on one caregiver to one dependent.
You talked about your ideal user. Can you talk about who you want to sell to and what your channels are, your customer type?
Sure. So we originally started out thinking our only customer segment was going to be parents, and then they would be administering opioids to their kids. But the more we went out and talked to people, we realized there were actually a lot of other potential customers out there. Adults who care for aging parents and are nervous about having opioids in the house, spouses or romantic partners caring for each other, or like Kirby said, we even had some people say, I know my family has a history of addiction. I don't trust myself to stick to a schedule, so I would want the bottle to, only administer the right amount on the right schedule for me. So we found really anybody that has a dependent or anybody who wants a little extra safeguard for their own prescription. Channel partner wise, we are planning to partner with pharmacies, big box stores like Target and Walmart, and then also a website of our own. And so then caregivers just buy them, take it out of the box, set it to the right dosage schedule and amount, and then you're good to go. Yes.
Did you guys find any research that shows even if you only take the correct amount, the dosage that you guys are saying is correct, is there any research that says that people still won't get addicted to it? Do you only get addicted from taking too much of the prescription, or can you get addicted taking the amount that is prescribed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's something we looked at a lot. One thing we found when we were researching is that this problem is just giant. It's an opioid epidemic, they call it now. It is a really big problem. And the amounts that are prescribed is really between a doctor and a patient. And so that's where it's not really our niche to jump in and say, no, we think you're prescribing too much. We are just entrepreneurs who have found an issue. We found that people don't want them just laying out in the house. And so we're not here to change the amount that doctors prescribe. We understand that that's not our area of expertise. We're just here to take the amount that has been prescribed and help caregivers store it safely and administer it safely. So that's where we're coming in to, admittedly, a huge problem, but that's the specific place that we're trying to help.
What do you see as your biggest challenge?
Honestly, I think that the whole aspect of, so our biggest customer base obviously is parents who, or someone who cares for another person, right? And so it's the biggest issue within it is if a child or the dependent is really complaining about the pain, or if it's hey mom, it really, really hurts, and it's just that emotional part of it. It might deter the customer from going away from it. So our whole pitch to them is saying hey, we can take that emotional part out of it. So battling that dynamic between a parent and a dependent, or a parent and a child, is what I really think is going to be the hardest thing, because a parent wants to help their kid, and if our product is maybe making that a little bit more difficult to them in the emotional aspect, we think that could be something we're battling. But we do think that the way we're pitching it and the way we're helping people is going to be a great way to combat that.
Yes.
I think it's a great product. You said there's a lot of customer segments, which is great. Could you explain where you got the 10,000 from and why you don't predict it to be higher the first year?
Sure. So we wanted to start off with, admittedly kind of a conservative amount. If we go over 10,000, that would be fabulous. But we looked at some other startups, and 10,000 is kind of a realistic or a realistic target for the first year. Again, we think this market is huge, and we think there's a big potential. But for this first year, we understand we're just now getting off the ground. We're just starting up.
Thank
think I just want to add something quick, if that's okay. I think a lot of people misunderstand. Opioids are inherently addictive. If you take opioids every single day, and that's how doctors prescribe them, you take them daily, you will get addicted. Like, that is just a fact of the matter. They're inherently addictive. So your product isn't about not letting people get addicted. It's about helping people break that addiction, because the only way you break the addiction is by stopping taking it.
And that's one thing we found when we went out and talked to people. A lot of caregivers said, well, I know they're addictive, and I don't want my dependent to finish the prescription. As soon as they can get off, we're done. We're putting them in the cabinet. We're not taking any more. But we found that people would just have them sitting in the cabinet for months. And that's where a dissolving solution comes in. Neutralize them, pour them down the sink, be done with it.
So one more question.
What about the whole thing, like, I don't know, my dad had surgery and like he was on a lot of opioids like for a while, and like they told him that like don't just completely cut off, like you need to like slowly like change like your dosage. So like they changed which medicines like he was on, which were all opioids though too.
Sure.
So like would you have to buy multiple things, or could you like?
Yeah, so part of our business model is that we're going to have the packs of dissolving fluid for sale, like a refill pack. So if you were to switch prescriptions or you wanted to use it again in the future, you'd buy a new pack of the dissolving solution and start over, reset it. And again, we're not here to tell the doctors how much to prescribe or to try to address the entire opioid crisis, but we think this is one area where we can help caregivers really rein in and control the dosage safely.
Thank you.